Now, this is our macaroni and cheese section, right? Get macaroni and cheese, get basic, talk about what's going on. Let's talk about the psychology of things. There's a term out there called bothsidesing, right? And there's a reason why people both sides an issue. Let's get to the Nina Turner tweet when we take a look at this, right? And Nina Turner put up a tweet the other day. And Jamie, you can throw it on up there. And let's take a look at this. This is what you call both sidesing an issue. And what she said was, arrest Netanyahu and the Hamas leaders. Why is she both sidesing this? Because she doesn't have the guts to stand up to the same AIPAC lobbyists that stole her election. Hashtag piss poor. Both sidesing an issue, right? Now, the definition of both siding is right below it. Can you scroll to that? We can read this. And I want your opinion. Definition of both siding, and this is according to, I think, Wikipedia. Both sidesing refers to the media or public figures giving credence to the other side of the cause, action, or idea to seem fair or only for the sake of argument when credibility of that side may be unmerited. Question, I'm going to hand this right off to you. Let you dive right into it, Mr. Weinglass. Was it merited what she said? Was she both sides in the issue? And what do you think about it? Put Nina's tweet back up. What do you think about it?
Absolutely. 100%. Craig Pasa, this is a both-siding situation. Nina Turner knows exactly what she's doing, and she knows she's going to get the pushback for it, but she's weighed it, and she figured out, this is probably in my best interest to do so. And I think you hit it on the head with the AIPAC situation. She has to stay cool for whatever reason moving forward, that her overlords are going to allow her to maneuver to her next position of power. So she has to do this. This is very Bernie Sanders of her. The fact that Bernie Sanders can't say the word, the G word. You can't say the G word or you get in trouble, but you can talk about, you can call out and you be critical of Netanyahu, you can be critical of Israel, but you have to include Hamas. You have to scold them. You have to say what they did on October 7th came out of nowhere, as RFK Jr. would say. This completely unprovoked attack, that you actually do have the right to stand up against your oppressors. That's actually legal to do, but she won't say that because she has to both sides it. As you said, I'm so glad that definition was put there so people scrolling through Twitter, scrolling through X can see that is exactly what she's doing.
Well, make sure you go there and like and share the video, guys, because it does mention AIPACs and does mention Israel lobbyists, so therefore it won't get shared because it will get censored, even with Elon at the help. I think it's important to point this out because both sidesing happens a lot. They try to, like I said, give merit to another side that doesn't really deserve it. It's unmerited. They're not at equal levels. The Hamas leaders are not at the same level as Netanyahu. Netanyahu is the head in leading a genocide. He's at the helm over there, whether you like it or not. Yes, he has bosses. He has other people he answers to. But what he's doing doesn't even equal what Hamas is doing. At the end of the day, we have to remember that Bibi Netanyahu and his cabinet and the rest of the people in his party promoted Hamas. Dr. Ron Paul, who was at Freedom Fest, at the Libertarian Convention over the weekend. We just talked to Daniel McAdams. He had talked about on the floor of Congress that Israel created Hamas to push back against the secular government of Yasser Arafat. They're not on the same level. That is a bullshit tweet to say that the Hamas leaders are the same. And it's also a sticking point that RFK uses all the time. When he talks about the Hamas leaders are billionaires, they got more money. And what does that mean? How does that justify the killing of civilians? How does it justify of using civilians, women and children as shields? It doesn't. So when Nina Turner makes a tweet like that, she needs to be called out right away because it's not the only area in which people, both sides, they're not on equal level. At the end of the day, the Palestinian people, who are they going to support? The oppressors in Israel, the state of Israel that's thrown them into Gaza, that has put them in an open-air prison, or the side, whether they be radical jihadists or not, the side that's standing up and sticking up for them. I'm not saying that what came on October 7th was justified. Well, I'm not going to say any type of war is justified, but it should be expected. And once again, it was the reaction, not the action of Hamas. It was the reaction for what Israel has done since the Nakba in the 1940s. Hamas wasn't thrown in the Gaza Strip during the Nakba. The Palestinians were. The Hamas was born out of the situations and the conditions and the oppressiveness of the state of Israel. Bottom line. So when Nina makes that tweet, it's bullshit.
I'm going to say this again. If you guys missed what Craig Pasta just said, Hamas was funded by Israel. I'm going to say it again. Hamas was funded by Israel, propped up, promoted, pushed into a position to then be able to have justified doing what they're doing, which is creating a genocide, wiping out the Palestinian people. Hamas is the reason that was created so they can do that. That needs to be said 1,000 times, just like we hear 1,000 times. Do you condemn October 7th? Do you condemn October 7th? Do you condemn the funding and the creation of Hamas? Do you condemn the occupation of the Palestinian people? Do you condemn the formation of an ethno-state to begin with that was formed in order to wipe out the people in that area that were there before these guys even got there? This is something that gives us historical context. We have to say this stuff over and over because they love to say October 7th over and over. But of course, Nina Turner is not going to be clear about that when she tweets out. The purpose of her tweet is to both sides, like Paz is saying, and that's just so she can keep her position, but also give the people in the streets a little bit of the pro-Palestinian people, give them a little something.
She's virtue signaling.
She's virtue signaling. Yes.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm going to read this really quickly in my best Bibi Netanyahu voice. Anyone who wants to thwart the establishment of the Palestinian state has to support bolstering Hamas and transferring money to Hamas. He told at a meeting at his Likud party's Knesset members in March 2019. This is part of our strategy to isolate the Palestinians in Gaza from the Palestinians in the West Bank, from Prime Minister Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu. He said that, and this was back in 2019, right? The funniest thing that was ever said that my time on Jimmy Dore was when Kurt Metzger said, like, here he is in 2019, and when I've given up on Hamas in 2015, he's still pushing for it. He's like, I've given up on them in 2015, but here they are in 2019, and Bibi Netanyahu is pushing them. That's why the both sidesing from Nina Turner is nothing more than a virtue signal. And at the end of the day, we have no help in the American left because she's not left, right? She was also doing Putin this and Putin that. She was doing that rhetoric too as well during Bernie Sanders' campaign. This both sidesing has to be pointed out. And Jamie Cheese Slice, I can hear you. You got something to say, brother? Do you want to join the conversation?
I do. I'd like to jump in here. I might have to defend her for a second, and that's going to upset you.
Here he goes.
But isn't she just kind of parroting what the ICC did, the International Criminal Court did, when they issued their arrest warrants? They did them for both the Hamas leaders and the Israeli leaders.
She shouldn't do that, though. That's not.
They are both sizing the issues, too.
Listen, the ICC is full of shit. The ICC before this right here, things are so bad that even the ICC is bringing charges against Netanyahu. That's how bad the situation is. But historically and in the past, the ICC has wanted to arrest Putin. The ICC has pretty much only fingered and pointed out African leaders and some Slavic leaders too as well. But they didn't go after anybody else. The ICC, even Thomas Massey said, is full of shit, right? But the conditions are so bad in Israel, Gaza, in the Gaza Strip that even the ICC has to do that to save face. That's how bad the conditions are. And even if they are saying that, it still doesn't mean that she should say that. She's now kind of whitewashing what the Israelis have done since the Nakba. And
I'll say this
by that comment.
Why is she doing this? Why does she keep bending the knee to the Democratic Party when this is the same party that has screwed her over and 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 over?
She's like Bernie Sanders. She's like a sadomasochist.
She keeps going back to him.
Govern me harder, Daddy.
She's an abused spouse and she keeps going back to them. Like she can't get enough of it. It blows my mind. When is she just going to turn her back on the Democrats? They have never had her back. They have tried to undermine her and chop her off from the knees every opportunity they have, and she keeps going back to them. They can do no wrong. They have wronged her over and over. And she shouldn't be doing this, but she is because she still wants to be in with the Democratic Party. She's got what do they call that when you identify with your captor when you're a hostage?
She's got Stockholm
syndrome. That's what it is.
Stockholm. But I think they also believe really quickly, Matt, that they still believe, so does Nina Turner, so does Bernie Sanders, so does other people. They think that the Democrats are still the lesser of two evils. She's kind of playing that card.
Yes, exactly. But the only way we're going to stop her from doing this and having this, it's a mental illness at this point. And Bernie Sanders they're suffering from a mental illness, probably brought on by the trauma they've experienced from the abuse of the attacker. We know how the psychology. I think you hit it on the head there, Jamie. But the way we solve this is we have to be the ones holding her accountable. We have to keep going after her, after Bernie Sanders, after the squad. The more of us that hold them accountable, that's not coming from MAGA, it's not coming from anywhere else. It's coming from the people that supported them from the beginning, the people that gave them campaign financing. We gave them our donations. We gave them our votes. It has to come from us. We have to be the ones that says, you can't not get away with this shit anymore.
I used to agree with that, but I'm starting to wonder if that's true, because this is not the first time she's done something like this. I know Revolutionary Blackout Network has been on her case about stuff like this before. It doesn't work. Maybe we need a new strategy to convince people like this, leave the Democratic Party. They're abusing you. You need to leave this abuser.
She's got finances, Jamie. She's got finances from Hollywood that's tied into the Democratic Party. She's bought and sold. Right.
So then there's nothing.
Hear something funny about her election that she lost to? Who she lose to? Sherrod Brown. You want to hear something funny? It's an all mail-in election. All mail-in.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
All mail-in. She didn't even look at it. She didn't even see it. People don't want to do this. Listen, we had the Democratic Party on elections stuck. Bernie Sanders didn't drop the lawsuit. It was the Jared Beck lawsuit. We had the Democratic Party admitting that they can go into the back room full of cigar smoke and pick who they want. People like Bernie Sanders, people like Nina Turner have not gone and fought that fight. And if you don't have that in place, you'll never have elections. You'll always have selections, and you'll always be bending the knee to the establishment. You can't go halfway there. You got to go all the way. And these are things that we have to call them out. The both sidesing is bullshit. It's not. They're not on the same level. They're not on the same playing field. You only have to expect that Hamas, along with the other resistance factions, which is something else that people don't point out. It just wasn't Hamas alone. It was the whole resistance movement there in the Gaza Strip. There were people who were sick and tired of being oppressed by the Israelis on a regular basis. They were living in an open-air prison. You could only expect for something like this to happen. I'm not saying it's justified, because I'll never justify anything of war, but I'm not looking at them at the same level, but from what Hamas has done to what the Israelis have done since the Nakba, since the 1940s.
Can we just compare Hamas more to? I would compare them more towards Nelson Mandela than to Netanyahu. Are you kidding me? I mean, if you want to put it on a line of comparison, they're closer to that direction. That's what I see.
Yeah. So that's it for that section. Guys, thank you so much for watching. That is our macaroni and cheese, our white belt section, so we can talk just with the people. Both sidesing. What do you think? You guys let us know out there what you think.